Hey y'all, it's Dice, the Hoodoo doll. If you don't know who I am, I'm a two-headed doctor, a root worker. I teach root work. I have a conjure shop. I'm a seer. I do mediumship readings. I'm Geechee. I'm a Geechee gal. Okay, and that's pretty much the region of Hoodoo that I usually talk about. Geechee. I was born and raised Geechee, Low Country, Georgia Sea Island. Okay. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about ancestor work because I know that there's a lot of debunking that needs to go on. A lot of us don't know how to work with our ancestors, where to start. I always get the same questions in readings. And the truth of the matter is that we overcomplicate things, okay? Being raised in the practice of hoodoo, things were a lot more simpler. It didn't take much to communicate with some spirits, especially if you were raised in the Black church. You already know how to communicate with spirits. Communicate with your ancestors is no different. Now, I did take a few notes on where to start because I can be a little all over the place. But I just want to say, firstly and foremost, that you don't need a lot to start your practice. And make sure that you are making your practice your own. Okay? Your practice shouldn't look like nobody else's, because you shouldn't be gathering, too much inspiration from the internet or from books. In spirituality, it's about your connection to spirit, not your connection to a book or to another human being. Don't leave the spirits out of spirituality. So when it comes to altars and the way that you do your practice, the offerings that you give to your ancestors, ask your ancestors. Let your ancestors guide you down that path to what they want. Because just because somebody else's ancestors might want whiskey, yours might not like that. But nonetheless, let's get into the video. So first, I want to talk about what ancestor veneration necessarily means. Ancestor veneration can be anything, okay? You can venerate your ancestors through changing your habits. You can venerate your ancestors through doing things that they haven't done in this lifetime, breaking generational curses, right? To venerate your ancestors means to honor them, and you can show honor through anything. Honor can be shown through changing your eating habits, changing your smoking and drinking habits. Honor can be shown through lighting candles. Honor can be shown through writing books, keeping, how like we have family booklets. If you grow up Black, you know that we have little family photo albums. That can be veneration, keeping their stories alive, honoring them through yourself. It doesn't always have to be outside of you. So that's why I was saying with breaking habits, right? It doesn't have to be something outside of you. Okay, y'all heard the saying, you are the altar, or whatever. But you can honor your ancestors simply through the things that you do for yourself. Most of my family, I can trace my ancestry in the very town that I was born and raised in all the way back to the 1600s. My ancestors never really left that town. If they did, it was like surrounding areas. I'm from a small town called Scriven. Usually my ancestors moved to Brunswick or Waycross, or they'll go down to Jacksonville, or 30 minutes away from where we're from. So I moved away and I traveled, and I made a vow to not get addicted to anything. Most of my ancestors were addicted to drugs, alcohol, still to this day. So I honor my body. Some of my ancestors were very stressed out in their lifetime. So I honor that part of myself. I work on my anxiety. I go to therapy. I take the right steps to heal my anxiety and to not be stressed out and overworked, and allow people in my space that would give me stress or anxiety. And so that is how I choose to venerate my ancestors. Also, we venerate my ancestors there. Our family still has a family reunion, and during our family reunion, we go to the cemetery and we learn the stories of our ancestors, and then we go and visit like the Geechee honor. I can't even think of the words, but there's like a thing over on Jekyll Island where they honor, Geechee heritage. And so we go there and just honor, pour libations, talk about them, and things like that. So this is not to be confused with ancestor elevation. So a lot of people say, only call on your ancestors of your highest being, of your highest good. And that can be true in some cases, right? If you're asking for something, only call on the ancestors that can help you. Okay? Most of the time, instead of saying my ancestors of my highest good, I say my protective ancestors are here to protect me with goodness. Entering them off, right? I'm separating. I'm not calling on everybody. I'm calling on those who can protect me with whatever I got going on. Or if you're calling on them for abundance, I'm calling on those who can assist me with bringing in more abundance, with healing my abundance. I'm calling on those who can assist me with healing, and things of that nature. So get a little specific, okay? But elevation is elevating your ancestors, especially those who are your non-ascendant ancestors. Your ascendant ancestors are the ones who walk with you, are the ones who you call on to guide you, heal you, give you wisdom, and things like that. Your unelevated ancestors are usually those ancestors who don't walk with us, or that we don't want them to, help us out with anything. We just want to uplift them in order for the healing of the bloodline, right? So, for example, my father is not someone I called on for anything, but for his birthday, I do light candles in honor of him. I pray for him specifically. Now, outside of his birthday, I do this for my ancestors anyway. When I wake up in the morning and I'm saying my prayers, I say, my ancestors, I pray healing over you. I pray elevation. I pray freedom. I pray that any chain that is holding you down to be broken and to be lifted. That is me elevating my ancestors. I'm uplifting them. This is something that can be done simple as well, something that you don't need an altar for. Pray for your ancestors. This is not just about asking your ancestors for things, what they can do for you. What can you do for them? Now that you're here, now that you have the privilege that you have to be here, to have this knowledge, and to want to do these things for your bloodline and take that first step, What can you do for those who didn't have that chance, who didn't heal? You want to pray for their peace, for their well-being. You want your ancestors to be at peace, especially your ancestors who aren't ascended. What our ancestors can do for us, right? Everybody wants to start working with their ancestors so they can manifest money, so they can elevate, right? You want your ancestors to come into your life so you can elevate. You want your ancestors to come into your life so you can be protected. I said this earlier, but be wise who you're asking. Know who you're talking to, right? Well, for one, just because somebody died in your family does not make them your ascended ancestor. It does not make them an ancestor that you want to be calling on. If you are asking for, let's say, healing, right? Why would you want to call on your auntie who was a drunk, an alcoholic? Your ancestors are not only those of your bloodline, they can be spirits that were outside of your bloodline as well. Ancestor does not mean bloodline, okay? And you have so many ancestors, it's impossible to know them all. Impossible. So a lot of times when I get readings, they're like, oh, does my auntie so-and-so walk with me? Or, better example, sometimes I'll say, there's an aunt who walks with you. She's telling me Mary, like if the spirit gives me a name, she's telling me Mary, and then I can describe to you what she looks like. And you say, oh no, like that doesn't resonate. I don't know who that is. Yeah, it could be someone you don't know. Most of the time, more than likely, most of our ancestors who walk with us are ancestors we never met in this lifetime. Our ascended ancestors are more than usually ancestors we never met in this lifetime. You've probably never seen a picture of them. You probably don't know their name. You probably never had a conversation with them. Along the way, you do develop that connection with your ancestors where they reveal themselves to you and they show you who they are. I remember that I was in meditation and this woman, this older woman, she came to me and she was laying hands on me in my meditation. And I was just communicating with her, who are you? What's your name? Like, what are you doing? Because it kind of caught me off guard. And she was communicating that she was an aunt of mine, and she was there to help me with healing because I was going through some things at the time. And so she just laid hands on me and I sat there in meditation and allowed her to do so. If you are someone that's like, oh, I can't connect with my ancestors because I don't know much about my family, I don't know any of my ancestors, that doesn't matter. They tell you. Just because you don't know them now doesn't mean that after you grow that relationship and you grow that connection, they won't reveal themselves to you. They will tell you. They will show you, whether through dreams, signs, meditations, in person. Now, moving on to communication and growing that relationship. Communication can be so easy, y'all. Everyone wants to know, how can I communicate with my ancestors? You talk. How I'm talking to you right now is how I just start talking to my ancestors. No candles, no water. You don't even need incense, okay? Just be specific when you start talking. My benevolent ancestors. Start talking. Start talking. Now, if you want to heighten communication, yes, you can add a glass of water. You can add a light. But let's talk about that glass of water, right? A lot of people think that water is for your ancestors to drink. It's not. The water is a portal. So that's why I said if you want to heighten your communication, add that water, add that flame, because that water is a portal of communication. Your ancestors do not drink that water. That flame from the candle is the light, to light and illuminate their path so they can see. But it's not necessary. But if you must, then do so. You don't need an altar to communicate with him. Start talking like you're talking to yourself. Okay? Really and truly, if you add that to like your daily routine or whenever, you'll start to see those signs. They'll let you know that they hear you. They do hear you. Don't question if they hear you or not. They hear you. They hear you. A lot of what it is with spiritual practice is trusting yourself. Trusting that even when you're talking out loud and it sounds like you're talking to yourself, that you are talking to who you just said you was talking to. If I'm sitting here right now and I said I was talking to my ancestors, but you don't see nobody, you don't hear nobody, my ancestors know I'm talking to them. I know that I'm talking to my ancestors. Another way to grow your relationship with your ancestors is to give gratitude and to give offerings. Yes, especially if down the line you're going to be asking them for things. Offerings can be so simple, y'all. Offerings can simply be thanks. Offerings can be flowers. Offerings can be libations. Offerings can be fruit. Offerings can be letters. Offerings can be dance, song, okay? A lot of the time, what I like to do is I will have some praise and worship with my ancestors, okay? I grew up Pentecostal. I grew up a church girl. So did my ancestors, okay? And they love a good praise and worship. I play that old school gospel music. They like the old school gospel music, not no Kirk Franklin. So I'll play a little of that, get them going. I might give them some coffee, and we just having a good old time. I might pray some scriptures out the Bible. I have my grandmother's Bible, so sometimes I'll pray the scriptures that she has highlighted. Okay, and that right there, that's honoring my ancestors. That's giving an offering. That's showing up for them, spending time for them. We already touched on this, but the next thing and the last thing on my list was, are altars necessary? The answer is no. And you can have an altar that it doesn't have to look like everybody else's altar. My grandmother, which most black grandmothers do, my mother does this, okay, has a table full of pictures of everybody in the family with candles that never get lit. Just candles collecting dust, okay? It doesn't have to be the picture perfect altar that you always see. Candle, glass of water, picture of your ancestors, flowers. It doesn't have to be that. Again, grow that communication with your ancestors, and they'll tell you, what they want, what they like, or you may discover that for yourself. Your altar should be personal. Your altar shouldn't look like everyone else's, because it is personal to you and your ancestors. I'll give you an example. Most of my ancestors worked in tobacco fields, or they were, what do you call it? Oh, y'all, I can't think of the word, but if I do, I'll put it on the screen. Most of my ancestors worked in tobacco fields, so something that I do keep on my altar is tobacco. I work a lot with tobacco, in my practice, which is, usual depending on the type of work that you do. But that's specific to me because I know that is connected with my ancestors. My dad likes, what is it? Budweiser. My dad likes Budweiser. So I'm gonna give him some Budweiser, okay? Not the typical rum or whiskey, because my dad didn't drink that. He drank Budweiser. Also, when it comes to flower colors, a lot of people say white flowers. Yes, that's good and basic for when you're just getting started out, but your ancestors may tell you that they like yellow. So make sure that you're growing your own personal practice, making it specific to you. This is a spiritual practice, so there are no rules and regulations. There's no one way to do anything. And a reminder that this practice varies based on the region that you are from. I'm Geechee, so I practice Geechee Hoodoo. Somebody from Louisiana may practice differently. Somebody from Alabama may practice differently. Somebody from Philly may practice differently, because this is a word of mouth practice, meaning that my grandma told me this shit. My mama told me this shit. So what your mama or your granny may have told you may not been have what they told me, because it's word of mouth. It's what worked for my granny and my mama, not what worked for your granny and your mama. So yeah, y'all, if y'all have any more questions, feel free to comment them. I'll be a lot more present on here, okay? I'm trying to find me an assistant for my conjure shop, and then we're gonna be on here a lot more, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to be on here more now, because this year I'm challenging myself to stop waiting on something else to happen, but to do it now. And so since I had the energy after packing orders today, I was like, you know what, we're gonna film a YouTube video, we're gonna get on there now, because I'm thinking about it and I need to do it. But yeah, y'all, if y'all want to book a mediumship reading with me, a hoodoo reading with me, I don't do tarot, so everything is just straight from here. I do offer cartomancy readings. If you want a cartomancy read, see y'all later.